Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. In today's video we've got a little bit of a change of pace. Today we're actually going to be looking at a material analysis for a lot of the Fallout stuff that we've actually been given over the past few weeks. As you guys probably know, we've had the teaser trailer actually dropped not that long ago, and we had a lot of stuff come in from the E3 of this year. So we have a lot of stuff that we're going to be covering in the next few videos. I've actually planned to make it into maybe 2 or 3 videos. So the first one, what I want to do is make a trailer analysis for the actual gameplay trailer. And then for the next video, I'm going to be making an actual gameplay analysis on some of the stuff that they actually managed to show in E3. So why not just jump straight into it, and we're going to get started with some of the trailer stuff. And if you guys have any questions at any point, or if you guys have anything else to add, please make sure that you put it down in the comments, just so everyone else can get up to date. Everyone else knows exactly what you're talking about, and everyone's on the same page, because I know anyone that's watching this is going to want to know everything about this trailer. And here we go, the main opening scene. We get to see a soldier that's obviously in the US Army wearing some T-51 armor, and he's just walking towards the edge of a road. I'm not too sure where this is going to be set in the game, but it's pretty interesting because this soldier seems very, very calm within the whole intro scene. For someone that's just about to get hit by 3 nukes, he seems very, very happy to just walk and watch the whole thing unfold. So right here we actually get to see a sign that says US Army property, no trespassing. I have my own theories about this scene. I feel like it's actually a soldier standing in front of an army checkpoint, or maybe even an army base, so it'll be cool to see if we can actually find this location when we're playing the game. We see the soldier standing there as the sirens are actually sounding. There is 3 missiles heading towards the surrounding areas of West Virginia, but throughout the trailer you might notice as well that West Virginia seems very green, it seems very much alive, so maybe we're quite far away from where the nukes actually detonated. So it seems a little bit of a different take. We've got a lot more life in the wasteland than previous games, and it's really cool to see this. So before we get too deep into it, one main thing that I have noticed throughout this entire trailer is there is a lot of different power lines lying around. There's even a point where you can sort of see a power station of some sort, or something that looks like a power station. So maybe this is hinting towards actually having working power sources in this Fallout game. So that'll be pretty interesting to see.
300 years after our great nation began, we gather together to honor the completion of...
And now we get to see one of the other scenes inside the vault. This is something that was in the teaser trailer as well, so it's something that we have sort of seen before. It's actually interesting because there is a color TV. We haven't really seen anything about color TVs in the Fallout universe. We do know that they did exist, and they were very rare, so to see them in one of the vaults is pretty interesting alone. So looking around the TV, there's not much lying around. I did notice directly underneath the TV there is 2 magazines which sort of look like 2 episodes of Grognak the Barbarian, but I'm not too sure. You can't really tell, you can't really make it out from this angle, but it does sort of seem like it.
Vault 76.
So if you have a look at the right side of the screen, you can actually see a dog bowl sitting in the corner of the room, which is pretty interesting. They could be hinting at a possible dog companion again, or maybe even having more animal companions in this game. Would be quite interesting as opposed to just having your average human companions here and there. Another little thing to note here is the table looks like it's been set for 2 separate people. This game is going to be multiplayer if you guys haven't seen that just yet. It is actually a multiplayer game, so there's going to be a lot of people in this vault, so maybe they were even sharing rooms. I'm not too sure.
This sprawling underground shelter may have been engineered by Vault Tech.
So in this scene we can actually see the Reclamation Day banner in the background. It's all about, reclaiming the wasteland and all that sort of stuff. And from what we can tell, it looks like we're going to be one of the last people to wake up and leave the vault. You can see a bunch of Vault Boy cutouts standing around in different areas, blocking entranceways and different doors, pointing you in the direction that you're meant to be heading.
but it was built by you.
And so I've done a lot of poking around on this scene, but I really cannot find a single thing, so I guess it's just, you know, a little bit of filler material here for the trailer.
So that if the bomb...
In this scene, we can actually see someone putting on their Pip-Boy, and if you read the date, it says 27th of October, 2102 at 6:34 in the morning, which is pretty interesting because that is almost exactly 25 years after the bombs fell, which is pretty odd because if you have a look in the Citadel on Fallout 3 and you go to the Vault-Tec terminal, it states that the doors in Vault 76 were actually set to open automatically exactly 20 years after the bombs fell. So I don't know why it's 25 years here, but just something that I picked up on. Let me know what you guys think.
Bombs do come. Our way of life will endure.
Almost heaven.
And in this scene, we get to see the landscape of Fallout 76 for one of the first times in the trailer. It looks awesome. And from what I've heard, they've got new technology to render all the different trees, all of the grass, everything's going to have a lot more detail, and like I said before, it just seems like there's a lot more life in the wasteland in this game, so it's going to be really cool to see how all of the different areas of the wasteland look. In this scene, I've done a lot of looking around. I can't see anything too crazy, there's nothing really behind any of the trees. I've tried my hardest to make anything out, but I can't see anything in this scene. And right here we get to see one of our first main looks at the landscape in Fallout 76. Now no doubt this is probably only a small portion of what we get to see, but it looks awesome. It seriously does look like something next level because we have never seen a wasteland this green and this full of life. So far looking at this scene, I can't see anything too crazy. I can see a little shack down in the left hand corner of the screen, and there is a watchtower sitting on the hill right in front of us. But then one of the main things that we can see in this scene is a big tower looking thing in the background. You'll see that a fair bit throughout the trailer, but it doesn't really actually show you anything too crazy until towards the end, which I will explain it once you get to see it. Another thing that I saw is a rather large bridge going behind the mountain that we can see right in front of us, and it sort of leads to a little town or a little city looking thing. I'm not sure where that would be or what sort of landmark that would be either. Apart from that, down to the right you can see some power lines. There's just another reference to the power lines that I've seen throughout the whole trailer. They're just very, very... they seem to be everywhere in this trailer, so just keep an eye out for them. It might be hinting at something, I'm not too sure.
Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain.
And in this scene, we don't see anything too crazy. We do have a watchtower with someone standing on top of it right there. Not too sure what that means, whether there's going to be people actually using these watchtowers and people that we can talk to, like NPCs, but that was something interesting that I noticed. Then far in the back, just a little bit past the watchtower, you can see that big strange structure that we saw in the last scene. I'm not too sure what it is still, but underneath it, it almost looks like there's some buildings like scattered around the bottom of it, so maybe it's some sort of a little town or a little city. I'm not too sure, but apart from that, there's not much on the ground around the foreground that we get to see here, besides slightly further away, there's some really strange looking structures in the background. One of them possibly looks like maybe even a billboard. It looks like it might have something written on it. Not too sure. But apart from that, I can't really tell what any of it is. And in this scene, we get to see another bridge. I'm not sure if it's the same one from before, but I do know that it's actually based off a real landmark in West Virginia. It's called the New River Gorge Bridge. So in this scene, we can see a lot of houses which don't seem too badly damaged by the fallout, and you can see a lot of other plants and trees. Much more life in this scene, so maybe this is one of the areas that didn't get exactly hit too bad from any of the radiation, because a lot of the stuff here looks quite good condition, besides the car obviously. Then down to the right, we can actually sort of see a little town of some sort. I'm not too sure where that would be or what that would be referencing, but looks like it's going to be a pretty popular area for a lot of the players. And now we get another look at the T-51 armor that we saw towards the start of the trailer, and it's slightly more buried now, so it just indicates that there was a fair bit more time that's passed since the start of the trailer. The actual armor itself doesn't look like it's in too bad condition. Like there's not too much rust on it. But once again, we can see that it looks like a slightly different location to what he was standing at in the very first scene of the trailer.
So they're older than the trees, younger than the mountains.
In this scene, we get to see some interesting stuff. So let's start off with the little mining equipment that we can see on the right side of the screen here. It doesn't look like it's been hit too bad by any of the radiation. It looks mostly intact, so it's quite interesting to see how everything seems still together and in relatively good shape. If you have a look at the bottom of the screen, we can even see a rail track that seems to lead off to the left, and it even loops back around and goes around the mountain. Slightly above that, we can even see a red dome thing. It looks quite industrial. It looks like it could be some sort of a factory maybe. Not too sure what it is, but just underneath that you can faintly make out maybe a small town. It's got 3, 4, maybe even 5 buildings there that look kind of like houses. And then just to the right of that, in the middle of the screen, is one of the main things that everyone will notice. There looks like there's some sort of a nuclear power plant, or some power plant in general, which is quite interesting because it looks like it's in almost immaculate shape. Maybe this power plant mixed with all of the power lines that we've been seeing so far throughout the trailer could be meaning something much, much bigger that no one's really thought of just yet. What if this means that there is a full-on power grid still working in West Virginia? And we know that base building is going to be a pretty huge part of Fallout 76. So what if instead of having all these little generators now, we might even be able to tap into a fully functional power grid that we can just always run our camps and our settlements off of? Just underneath the big power station, we can see a little church. And around that church, there is a little town, a little city. It's pretty interesting because it does look like it's a rather good size, something that a lot of YouTubers haven't covered. They just seem to see the church poking out. But yeah, a little bit more into the distance, you can see that strange structure once again. I'm not sure what it is, but I feel like I might have some sort of a theory on it, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the video.
Mountains blowing like the breeze.
In this scene, we get to see a town that's been absolutely destroyed by some of the nuclear warfare. There is no real crazy elements to this scene. I haven't been able to tell anything too crazy just yet. There is a red rocket gasoline sign to the left on that little industrial looking building, and I also did notice that there's some sort of a little makeshift sign over towards the left as well. The main thing in this scene is the crazy looking monster with no head wandering around. I don't have any clue what that is just yet, but it looks like it's going to be pretty cool to fight.
Country road.
In this scene, once again, they're really showing off this new sort of nature aspect of Fallout. This obviously must not have been too damaged by the nukes. Everything seems to be quite good condition right here. Even the car in the middle of the street looks like it's in relatively good condition. But another thing that I did notice in this scene is the Wanderer is actually wearing a shoulder pad, so maybe there is a little bit more of an in-depth armor system, maybe a different clothing system as well. Not too sure, but I guess we'll have to find out.
Take me home.
In this scene, we get to see a plane that's obviously been crashed, and I have my own theory about this. I feel like it might be a little reference to John Denver. He actually died by crashing his own plane while flying it. Pretty interesting, actually. What else we can see in this scene is a working windmill, which was quite interesting because it looks like slightly to the left of that, there's some sort of a little homemade shack, maybe even a little camp. So maybe the person who's taken over this area has been able to utilize the windmill and have fresh water from this water tower right here. Because you can also tell just from this scene that it doesn't look like the big house on the left here is enterable because the door looks like it's been boarded over. One last thing that I did manage to find in this scene is also the Nuka-Cola sign. I'm not sure, but maybe that's just one of those little, reference things that someone's placed down as, because it's their base or whatever. Not too sure, but tell me what you think. So in this scene, we get to see some really cool stuff. What we're actually seeing here is a crash-landed space station. It's actually known as the Ballistic Orbiting Missile Base 001. It was something that was meant to appear in the game Fallout Van Buren that got cancelled a while back. But it's just a cool little reference towards that. What else we can see in this scene is also the person is now holding a gun. I'm assuming that this is the character that we get to play as. Another thing that I noticed was he's wearing one shoulder pad, which looks like some sort of it looks like the combat shoulder pad anyway. Because he's only wearing one, that makes me think that, yeah, once again, there is a more in-depth armor system, because you usually can't actually break up like sets of the armor like that. But apart from that, there's not too much that we can really see in this scene besides the space station and the armor. Right here, I feel like we're actually seeing the Vault 76 entrance area. So we saw an area that kind of looks like this in the very first outdoor scene that we get. It's very, sort of alive. It's got a lot of trees, a lot of color to it. And then the next scene after that, we get to see a similar landscape. So I feel like this is just sort of the same area as the start of the trailer, just with more of a look at the area of where Vault 76 itself is going to be. Apart from that, I can't really see too much in this scene. There's a little road that goes down towards maybe a river, just down to the right, and if you have a look just past the right post there, it looks like there's a building, and as it goes over, you'll be able to see maybe there's a little town there, a little city, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'll let you guys be the judge there.
West Virginia, Mountain Mama.
Here, once again, we're just having a look at the T-51 armor, but something pretty interesting that I've noticed is with the 3 different people that actually walk past the armor, you can see the shadow from the plants. It doesn't change its angle much, so I feel like these are 3 people that are possibly in a group. I know that the 2 last people are definitely from Vault 76 because they're wearing the jumpsuits. One of them is a little bit more equipped than the other one, but the first person, I'm not too sure who that would be because they seem quite geared up already, and I'm not too sure whether that's something that we'll be able to get our hands on straight away after we exit the vault. But once again, possibly they're a group, possibly they're not. I'm not too sure here. So right here we get another look at the Pip-Boy, and the date's actually reading a different date now. It's got the 3rd of November 2102, and the time is 6:52. So it's a little bit later since we last got to see the Pip-Boy, but now all we really get to see is the player character, I would guess. He's just putting on all of the armor, and apart from that, there's not too much else in these scenes.
For when the fight.
Right here we get to see another area, which it's quite smoky. It looks like it's inside of a cave, and I know that West Virginia did have a lot of different mines here and there. So maybe this was some sort of a coal mine, I'm not too sure. But we do see the person in the frame is wearing a lot of fire gear, he's wearing a fire helmet, he's even got the fire axe. But maybe there's a new mechanic in the game where different elements and stuff like that, you will need to have the right gear to actually go past that area. So different areas are blocked off by different elements, and you're going to need to have the right equipment to get into each area.
Everything is stopped in the folder.
So in this scene, we get to see a big building in the background, which is known as the Virginia Capitol Building. Apart from that, it looks like there's a boat that's been crashed into the front of it. So I don't know how that works, because I don't know if there's any water around there. Well, there definitely isn't in this shot. Apart from that, we get to see a really crazy looking new creature. I have no idea what this thing is, and no other videos on Facebook that I've seen, no other videos on YouTube that I've seen have been able to explain what this thing is. If you guys have any ideas what it could be, please let us know. I would love to hear all of your theories. Apart from that though, just down to the left, we can see what looks like a homemade shack. Very faintly, it's right on the edge of the frame right here, but it looks like it could be some sort of a building that a player has made. Maybe this is an area that we're going to be able to see some pretty high level loot, maybe some pretty good crafting materials and stuff like that. I'm not too sure, I'm just speculating.
has settled. You must rebuild.
And right here, I feel like this is actually that big strange structure that we have been seeing in the background of a lot of the different scenes so far. Because in the scene with the power plant, you can even see that there's some sort of a little diagonal beam coming from the tower down towards the ground. So I feel like that could be the arm that we're seeing with the big saw looking thing on there. Apart from that, we get to see another bunch of those strange looking towers just over to the left in the background there. And there's some, you know, just junk lying around in the left on the ground there. Possibly some buildings in there. So there's some cars. But apart from that, we get to see the character once again, and they're holding an LMG, so we know that that's going to be one of the main weapons in Fallout 76. Apart from that, they've got some combat armor on, which is pretty high-level stuff if you played Fallout 4. It's pretty hard to find, and it's some good armor too, so maybe this is sort of seen as later game stuff, and maybe this area is supposed to be seen later in the game once you've played for a while. But, yeah, I'm not too sure.
Not just walls.
So in this scene, we get to see Watoga. It's actually a pretty big place, judging by this scene right here from what we can tell. It's got a place called Watoga Estate. It's got the Watoga Center. But apart from that, we don't see too much. There's just a few billboards here and there. Just above us, there's a Red Rocket billboard. To the left of that, there's also a bowling billboard. But it looks like a pretty technologically advanced area. Like there's a lot of power lines and stuff like that. And I'm not too sure what the rings are, but it looks like maybe there was some sort of a monorail before the bombs fell. Not too sure.
Not just building.
Right here we get to see one of the new creatures. It looks like a massive bat. I'm not too sure whether it's going to be just like a normal enemy that we get to fight, or whether it's going to be some sort of a boss enemy that we get to fight, but it is huge. I feel like whatever gun that is, whether it's a minigun or a Gatling laser or something like that, I feel like that thing's not going to be big enough to kill this massive bat thing. Apart from that, this guy's wearing some armor. He doesn't have anything too crazy on by the looks of it, but we get to see a pretty advanced looking city right next to us to the left. Possibly that's Watoga again, I'm not too sure. But to the right, I did see some sort of it's like a stick with a circle on the side of it. I'm not too sure what it is. Maybe it's a sign, maybe it's something just off to the right there. But yeah, apart from that, there's not too much in this scene. It's just very foggy. So we get to see the new dynamic weather system that they've implemented. I think there was, it's sort of similar to what was in Fallout 4, but it's just a bit more advanced.
But hearts.
This is going to be one of my favorite scenes from the entire trailer. It's really dark, really gloomy, and it almost has a little bit of a haunted vibe. There's some really weird looking tentacles growing from the church and from the roof, stretching across all the buildings and stuff like that. Maybe they're vines, I don't know, but they just look really, really gross. It looks like it's going to be an enterable area, because if you have a look at the door on the little shack to the left, it looks like one of the doors from one of the enterable areas from Fallout 4. Down to the right, we get to see a really weird looking creature. It's got some sort of little like legs, and it's got tentacles coming from its head with like smoke or black mist coming from its eyes. It really looks cool. Another weird thing that I noticed with this scene though is there's some sort of a car lying on the ground there, but it's got no roof or anything. So I don't know what type of vehicle that would have been, but who knows.
Mine.
In this scene, we don't get to see a whole lot. It's mainly just the West Virginia University in the background and a pretty cool, pretty funny looking Vault Boy statue at the front there. I can't really make out what the actual like book or whatever he's holding actually says, but it's a pretty funny looking statue, let's be honest.
And ultimately, America itself.
Here we get to have a really, really good look at the Blackbriar Hotel. Underneath this place, in real life, there was actually a nuclear bunker that was designed underneath it. So that way, if there was ever some sort of a nuclear strike, I'm pretty sure the President and Congress was able to have somewhere safe to stay. Don't quote me whether it's the President and Congress, though. I'm not too sure. I know it's some sort of government officials or whatever. But in the Fallout universe, it's actually the place that the Enclave president, all that sort of stuff, got to stay. So maybe we might be seeing something to do with the Enclave in this Fallout. It'll be really cool to see them pop up again. But apart from that, it's a very well-maintained garden, that's for sure, because everything just looks so full of life, so colourful. There's also a Protectron and a Securitron actually walking around and rolling around in the front area of this place. So it's obviously going to be somewhere that's really, really well protected. It's going to have some high security. Another real odd thing that I did notice is that bus there looks like it's in perfect condition. Looks like it's never even seen any radiation whatsoever. So I don't know, maybe that's something that works. I'm not too sure.
Country roads, take me home, country roads.
Right here we have our last scene for the entire trailer, and all it is the man putting on the power armor that he found on the ground. It's the T-51 armor that we've seen through the whole trailer. Possibly it's the power armor from the very start, but who knows? It looks like it's a different landscape. But apart from that, I can't really find anything in the background. There's nothing else to really see here.
Vault 76, our future begins.
It has been awesome making this video. I am super excited for Fallout 76. And if you guys are too, please subscribe to the channel just so that way you guys can keep up to date with everything that I'm releasing. Because I plan on also doing a little gameplay analysis as well for all the little Vault-Tec snippets that they released on at E3. So that'll be really cool. So yeah, make sure you guys subscribe just so you don't miss out on any of that stuff. Leave a like if you guys did enjoy the video, and also comment if you guys saw anything or know anything from this trailer that I didn't pick up on, just so everyone else can get up to date. But apart from that, it was awesome fun making this video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for that, and I'll see you later.